Good morning. I was somewhere between the ages of 6 and 11. I don't know where. But my twin brother and I had a habit of getting out of bed after we were put down. And I'm sure none of your kids ever did this, but I don't remember what the lesson was. I'm sure it involved spanking. But I learned. So I looked at my brother, my twin, one night, and we just started doing this. It was kind of this unwritten, uncommunicated thought that we shared, because we had a younger brother who hadn't learned this lesson yet. So we coerced and pushed and insulted and everything we could in our arsenal of a little kid could do to coerce our younger brother to go out into the kitchen and get us some tea. In fact, we wanted him to mix tea and Kool-Aid. I don't know why I remember that, but we wanted to try it. So we sent him out, and he got caught, and I had to learn another lesson. See, the problem with that scenario is I learned a lesson the first time. I didn't learn the right lesson, right? If I learned the right lesson, I wouldn't have been coercing my brother to go do it. But we do that in so many ways. Now, as children, especially with little children, it's the parents' responsibility to teach those lessons to those kids because, well, to be frank and not to be extremely rude, but children are sometimes notoriously stupid, right? We all grow up having to learn things that we shouldn't feel like we have to learn looking back on it. Why did I have to learn that lesson? We have to learn everything. But as Christians, we also have to learn everything. And sometimes those lessons will come, especially as new converts, it's going to come because someone is going to introduce an idea to you that you haven't thought of before. And sometimes it can be even one of these things where your whole world falls apart because of the idea that's introduced. But later on, gradually, those things stop being as much a part of our lessons as, when other people, although we still get the lessons from each other. And God takes over starting to teach us these lessons in life. And we can learn the wrong ones. And I've mentioned this many times, especially this year. We say, well, why are you talking about suffering and pain? Because we're talking about the book of Revelation all year. And you thought the book of Revelation might have been about monsters and demons and fighting, angels fighting each other. And sure, all these different pictures and symbols are all in there. But the underlying idea is not what the meaning of the beast coming out of the sea is. The overwhelming teaching of the book of Revelation is overcome so that you can come over. And that's talking about going to heaven. So we learn how to live our lives based upon the things, the situations we find, whether that be huge monsters that we're facing in life, and I don't mean literally, or the little bitty things in life that we are facing that are challenging us on a daily basis. We have to learn, and we have to learn the right lessons. And so it dawned on me, well, I've been saying this a lot. Make sure you learn the right lessons. Make sure you learn. So I thought, well, what does it take for us to learn those kinds of lessons? And it's a good question to ask. So if you were to make a list of 7 things that would be required or be helpful for you to learn the right lessons, what would those 7 things be? We're going to start, this is a countdown. So we're going to start with number 7 and go all the way to 1. It dawned on me sitting right there before everything started. What I should have done was held number 1 until the devotional after we ate. I didn't. I want to encourage you to stick around, eat with us, and spend an extra 20 minutes coming back over here and singing and having a short devo. It's about 20 minutes, maybe 30. You will enjoy that. And that's one of the reasons we started doing it over here is because it was a mess. But that is going on, and we want to encourage you to be a part of that. It's still all of us together. So in the countdown of the 7 things to learn, number 7 is going to be stay open to new possibilities. We have to have a mind that is willing to accept a new idea. And when we come to the point where we've got it all figured out, we already know all the lessons. And I've been this way and you've been this way. We all have been this way. And we need to recognize when we're being that way. I don't know how many times I've seen that in my life, but it's very obvious when it's someone else being this way. You sit down, you open the Bible, you simply open the Bible and read a passage. You read a passage and they say, that's your interpretation. That is a sign of a closed mind. If I read it and then I interpreted and explained it all kinds of different ways, they have the right to say that's your interpretation. But if you just read the text, how in the world can you say that's your interpretation? I haven't even explained it yet. It's because they already know what you're going to say, they think, and they already disagree with it, they think. Well, be open to new possibilities. Look in the book of Proverbs chapter 2. This is simply actually, it's one of the most important passages in the entire Bible, but this is about the value of wisdom and the need that we have to search for wisdom, to recognize that we don't have all the answers. And contrary to popular opinion, all the answers are not inside you, and they're not inside me either. We have to learn by having information put into our minds so that we can learn new ideas. And so he writes, and he says in this is Solomon writing, he said, "My son, if you receive my words and treasure my commands within you, so that you incline your ear to wisdom and apply your heart to understanding. Yes, if you cry out for discernment and lift up your voice for understanding, if you seek her as silver and search for her as for hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God." When we come to the Bible with the answers already in our minds, we are not coming to the Bible. We're coming to ourselves and asking, what can I find that will support my ideas? When we come to the Bible with an open mind, we're looking at this, and the question we should ask is, what does this say? What does it teach me? What am I going to use this to do? How am I going to put this in application in my life? It's not about us defending ourselves. It's not about us maintaining doctrines and traditions that we've maintained for centuries upon centuries. The idea is to go back to the original Bible, the original ideas that were established 2,000 years ago, and say, what did it mean? And what does it mean now as a result of that? So we need to be open to possibilities and open our hearts, our minds. We open ourselves up to God. We are going to automatically open ourselves up to learning. Because when we think about God, we have to recognize that He is much greater and much smarter and much wiser than we are. And unless we feel like we are equal with God, we have to recognize that there are still some things to learn. All of us learn. I'm learning all the time, and we should be. And the more we learn, the more we recognize I need to learn. Here's another that's one of the ironies that we can see. The one who is the most secure, the most convinced that everything he believes is wrong everything he believes is correct and nothing he believes is wrong, that's a sure sign that that person does not know nearly enough. But the more we learn, the more we recognize there are differences. There is, like we talked about, I put in the bulletin article this morning, if you read that. It's simple. Truth is simple, but it's also complex. It's complicated. And we've got to be able to decipher between all the things, all the arguments, and all the activities and ideas that are presented to us in the world, and even from our own minds, and clearly see what is plainly stated in the Scripture. That is an art. Number 6, we must, there it goes, look for repeating patterns. This is one, Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 1. I think that we can all relate to this one. It's talking about the persistence that we have in doing something over and over again, as it's been attributed to Einstein. I don't know if it was actually him who said it. He said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. In chapter 29 and verse 1, it says, "He who is often rebuked and hardens his neck will suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy." Now, the idea here, if you harden your neck, that means you're stiff-necked. You refuse to change, right? He says if If you're often rebuked, well, if you're often rebuked, it's because you keep doing the same thing over and over. And you stiffen your neck. You're determined you're going to keep doing that thing no matter what anyone else says. It says these are the ones. They will suddenly find that their life falls apart. They're going to be rebuked. They're going to be destroyed, perhaps. Many things can happen. It says he will suddenly be destroyed and without remedy. We read about that this morning in Bible class, and we're talking about the book of Jeremiah and Ezekiel and the book of Lamentations. All these sorrowful things, the terrible atrocities